The River Itchen is usually associated with the early part of World War II, not the Second Front. In 1940 the river was a prime target for the Luftwaffe because of the concentration of industries directly involved in the war effort. Least well known is the Ministry of Munitions factory built during World War I to produce brass and cupronickel strip for shell and bullet cases. Known for being a gigantic factory, nearly half a mile in length, the building featured a foundry, rolling mills, a cupping area, and a dedicated jetty on the River Itchen. Further along the river is the better-known Thornycroft shipbuilding yard. In the interwar years there was still some construction for the Royal Navy at Woolston, but the yard also built civilian ships, like the ferry SS Robert Corrington for Uganda. When World War II broke out, production was stepped up again, and the yard built corvettes and destroyers. The most notable of all local industries was of course the Supermarine works at Woolston, where the legendary Spitfire fighter aircraft was manufactured. The new factory known as the Itchen Works was built on land reclaimed from the Itchen, just upstream from the Woolston Works. Opened in 1939, it was originally intended that it would be used to build the Walrus and Sea Otter, but because of its importance it was soon being used to construct Spitfire fuselages. Yet in spite of anti-aircraft fire, more than 70 tons of bombs were dropped and the buildings were so badly damaged that they were never rebuilt, and the ruins were at one stage used to train commandos in street fighting. The Luftwaffe magazine Der Adler published before, and after, photos of the devastated works. Even the historic Itchen Ferry village fell foul of the bombing. In the build-up to D-Day, thousands of landing craft were concealed in the creeks, rivers, and estuaries of southern England, including the River Itchen, to hide the true scale and location of the force destined for D-Day. Across the other side of the river a landing craft tank LCT is leaving the Empress dock where ocean liners once regularly berthed and turns into the River Itchen. Landing craft tank vessels were the backbone of the armoured assault on D-Day, responsible for landing the heavy tanks and vehicles necessary to break through German beach defences. Approximately 830 LCTs participated in the invasion, carrying armoured units like the British 7th Armoured Division and various US tank battalions directly to the shoreline. Their main job was to deliver medium and heavy tanks, typically 5 to 10 per craft, to the beachheads under heavy bombardment. We follow the LCT along the River Itchen until it reaches its rendezvous and assembly point at Chesil Bay just below Lances Hill in Bittern. Today you can still walk along the river bank at low tide and see where the landing craft beached awaiting D-Day, now a site of scientific interest. Approximately 100 landing craft tanks form a taxi rank waiting in a queue ready to pick up their cargo. The transit camp shown in the film appears to be on Southampton Common, in the heart of the city where soldiers are relaxing prior to embarkation. At the end of May 1944 these camps were sealed, meaning that the troops inside were not allowed to leave to minimize the risk of the public realizing that D-Day was near. Soldiers are seen taking the direct route to the landing craft via a mobile canteen in Brinton's Road, a back road of the St. Mary's district. Skippers of the landing craft unseal their sealed orders which they received on arrival at the HQ Combined Operations Movement Control at HMS Shrapnel, the former Southwestern Hotel. Their orders are contained in an envelope with their name and the number of the LCT on the front. Inside the orders give details of where and when to pick up their cargo, whether troops or supplies. Built for utility rather than longevity, LCTs featured a shallow draft and flat bottom, allowing them to beach directly on sand without permanent piers. They were crudely constructed and often survived only a few missions due to enemy fire or mechanical failure. Instructions remind the skipper to make sure water tanks are full and they have enough supplies for the voyage, and gives the skipper alternative arrangements if the invasion is postponed. Before departure, LCTs were stocked with rations and equipment, often with personnel sleeping in hammocks and in the open. In the film the landing craft take it in turn to visit Shamrock Quay across the river to make sure their vessels are ready for their journey. Moored alongside are examples of the specialized LCT variants, for example the mini battleships, which could move closer to the shore, LCT G, 4-gun, fitted with a heavy naval guns for direct fire against enemy bunkers and fortifications. Beyond the initial assault, LCTs ferried men, fuel, and supplies across the English Channel for months, often making dozens of round trips to sustain the Allied build-up.